Hi friends, in today's current affairs lecture, I'll try to discuss the recent initiative taken by the Supreme Court seeks states' view on 50% cap on quota. So this is the Supreme Court view on this 50% of cap on quota. Quota in the sense reservations. It seeks the uh, views of the states. So, what is this 50% of cap on quota and what is the Supreme Court view on that? So, these I think I'll try to explain in this. But before I try to enter into what exactly this issue, I'll try to give some sort of idea on this, what is this 50% and why there was a 50%, why it has started that 50%. Under the Article 15 and Article 16 of the Constitution, state can provide any affirmative action. Affirmative action means you have to treat everyone equally, but if you think like some people are not equal, then you can take some steps to bring them equal with others. So that provision has created under Article 15 and 16 to the Parliament of India, and Parliament of India can do that. So this is what we call it as reservations. So under these reservations, we have created reservation for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and other backward classes and even economically weaker sections and also some physically challenged people. To them we have created. But when we are creating these type of reservations, whether it is in jobs or whether it is in educational institutions, you must follow some principles. So what are those principles? Principles are equity, social justice and also the administrative efficiency. And that means you must bring the parity between these three things. You must treat everyone equal, and at the same time you must bring a social justice and you must maintain administrative efficiency. So whenever you are going for these type of affirmative actions, you have to be very clear on these fronts. And the Article 335 of the Constitution has clearly said the claims of the members of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe shall be taken into consideration consistently with the maintenance of efficiency of administration. So that means this must be the parity that you must bring whenever you are providing these type of reservations. So by considering these points in the M.R. Balaji versus State of Mysore case, the Supreme Court of India has opinion. The Supreme Court of India has actually opinion, like it was happened in the year 1962, like the special provisions whatever you are considering as a reservations should be less than 50%, and it was reiterated in the year 1992 in Indira Sahni case. Like what they have said in Indira Sahni case, they said again, they have reiterated like the whatever the reservations that we are promoting, those reservations must be again 50%. It should not cross more than 50%. That means the affirmative actions that you are bringing must not cross 50%. Why you must not cross 50%? Because if you cross the 50%, it is against the principle of equality. And principle of equality is mentioned under the Article 14 of the Constitution, and also they have mentioned in the basic feature or the basic structure of the Constitution. Basic structure of the Constitution was an idea, was enshrined in the 1973 Keshavananda Bharati case, that means Keshavananda Bharati judgment. Whatever you think that you can do in India with Indian Constitution, but it must not violate the basic feature of the Constitution. That means the basic feature is principle of equality, and that equality should not be violated, and in order to hold that idea, this 50% of reservation should be accepted and it should not cross more than 50, because if it crosses 50, then you are not giving ample opportunity to other. And when the Supreme Court is delivering the judgment in Indira Sahni case, they have clearly mentioned like reservation is provided for the adequate representation but not proportionate representation. So it's not proportionate. If you are 50%, I don't give 50%. If you are 60%, I don't give 60%. I'll give an adequate representation because my policy is to bring equality. So this equality is 50%, and that was mentioned in M.R. Balaji and was reiterated in Indira Sahani, and after Indira Sahani also they was mentioned in lot of other judgments like Ram Singh Jat case and other cases also. Now the Supreme Court want to seek a view on the state government, like what could be the thing if I exceed this 50%, what is your view? Because in that all the state governments actually the Supreme Court, one of the council in some case has actually said, sir, it's better if we seek the details of the state government. So that is what they said. So now the Supreme Court has seeking the view of the state government. Why state governments are important means these reservations are also implemented in state level. This is the first thing, state level. You are implementing at the union level, but it's the state government. But some of the state government want to give more than 50% of the reservation. Already Tamil Nadu is giving, and Maharashtra has passed a legislation in the year 2018 to provide the reservations to the Marathas on the name of backwardness, and the same case Chhattisgarh is having its own legislation, and at the same time the Haryana is also having that. But there is a one case in the case of the Indira Sahani 1992 judgment or Mandal judgment. They said reservation should be capped at 50%. It should not exceed 50% until and unless there is an extraordinary condition, or until and unless there is a very extraordinary reason is there, you are not supposed to cross that 50%. Extraordinary reason in the sense, suppose in a particular locality if 90% of the people are tribal, then you can't say like I will give only 50% of the reservation to the tribal. You need to extend it because it's a very peculiar reason, and that peculiar reason that has provided under this Indira Sahani case was used by the Maharashtra. So in the very extraordinary condition we have appointed a commission, and that is the reason why we are trying to give. And here they said 16% reservation is given to these Marathas in both education and also the public employment. That was the legislation. But in the year 2019 the Bombay High Court has reduced that 16 to 12% in admissions and 13% in jobs. But the point is, again it went to the Supreme Court. Now the point is, can you cross this 50%? Because all the states have crossed the 50%. And can you use that extraordinary condition that was mentioned under Indira Sahani case like these? So these are the questions now that are in front of the Supreme Court. Now Supreme Court want to seek a view of the state government on this exceeding 50%. Okay. Now, so why it is important now? Because some issues are going to dealt Supreme Court, but some other issues are going to come because you need to have a broader understanding on this issue. So first one is, okay, whether this 50% greater than quota is acceptable. So what is the meaning of principle of equality and how you can interpret that principle of equality now? Now the second is whether this, and again this was mentioned in Indira Sahani, and can we really breach that limit? First one. Second one is whether the Maratha quota law covered by the exemptional circumstances. That means that exemptional circumstances was used by the Maratha. And does these type of things comes under this exceptional circumstances? Because if you want to breach, you need to go for exceptional circumstances. And what really constitute of these exceptional circumstances? So that is the second point that they are going to see. And the third one is, we have done a Constitutional Amendment Act of 107, and with that 107 we have amended 2 articles and we have added this 330B and 342A. So what is this? Is providing constitutional status, this National OBC Commission. So when you have given the constitutional status, under 330B, what they have said is, under Article 342A, the President can list out the OBCs of a particular state, and if any change in the list will happen, that happen only through the Parliament. President will announce the list and Parliament will change the list. But prior to that, when there is a National BC Commission was there, with the prior permission of the National BC Commission, states used to add those things. State used to amend that thing, and it is taking away the complete power of the state government, and even state government cannot classify the OBCs under now, because earlier used to have BCA, BCB, BCC in the state level. Now this entire power goes to the Parliament, because whatever the changes that happen to the list, that has to be done only by the Parliament. Now this categorization power gone. Now the third point is, the 102 Constitutional Amendment Act deprives the state legislature to identify the socially and educationally backward classes within the state to confer the benefits. So that means if you want to add someone into the OBC, that is very difficult, state can't do that. Even if you want to categorize the OBCs into different classes, you can't do that, because now it is with the Parliament. Now does it really again is the concept of federalism? So these are the four basic questions that are put forward by the Supreme Court. So first of all, you need to check whether that can be exceeded beyond 50%. If it exceeds the beyond 50%, that was put forward by the Supreme Court in the Indira Sahani judgment. Now, in the light of subsequent constitutional amendments like 102 and also 103, I will come to that 103. So in the subsequent constitutional amendments of 102 and 103, and even the changing social paradigms and also the recent legislations brought by the state government, can you exceed 50%? And if you exceed that 50%, can you consider it as an exceptional circumstances, or you will do another review? And under 102nd Constitutional Amendment Act, does it really depriving the state powers? If so, then what is the fate of federalism? And can the states really now depriving the power of this categorization of the OBCs? This is the point. Now under 103 Constitutional Amendment Act, what we have done is, apart from the social and educational backwardness, we have also added economic backwardness. So what is this economic backwardness? Okay, those who are not owning an agricultural land more than this, and those whose income is less than this, those people can get a benefit. This is economic backward. For that, Article 15 and Article 16 is amended, and they have given maximum of 10% of reservation in both educational institutions and also public employment. Now with this 10%, it is crossing 50%. It has become 50%. So it was mentioned in the constitution. Now they are saying like, no, the court has to consider this economic backwardness also. So how they are going to deal this above 50% cases? So these are the issues. Now I'll try to give an analysis on this. First one is above 50%. The point is why it is becoming above 50%. First one is that exceptional circumstances used in the Indira Sahani judgment. Second one is economic inequality was also brought here. So this economic exceptional circumstance means, can you use these exceptional circumstances everywhere? What is really an exceptional circumstance? Can a political benefit becomes the exceptional circumstance? What data is really gives you the exceptional circumstance? So what type of data through which you can convey the judiciary to accept these provision of exceptional circumstance? Now second one is economic inequality, and earlier it was only social and educational inequality. Now you have added economic inequality, and because of this economic inequality, your principle of 50% is really exceeding. Now what they are saying is, as the societal changing societal dynamics, Now you are saying like it is not for the providing proportionate, but it is only for the adequate. But if you really looking into the data, like what are the sections of different society, and some the backward societies and backward people and the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, they are arguing. Just open the data, you can understand what is the proportionate percentage of the general category people and what is their presence in the educational institution and as well as in the public employment. You can understand the reality. So this is not equally distributed, only few people are getting hijacked out of this. That is what they are saying, and that is the reason why this whatever the 80% of the people in this country who belongs to OBCs, SCs and STs should get the more reservation, that is to cross the 50%, and that is what they are arguing. But can we really cross that 50%? Now the Supreme Court has to decide on that. And one more thing, when you have added economic inequality, it crosses 50%. Suppose if you agree like reservations can be crossed 50%, now you can amend the constitution, you can bring other category also. Because anyway, if this 50% is exceeded, earlier it was only social inequality, economic, educational inequality. For that you have given some exceptional circumstances. Under that exceptional circumstances, they have brought economic inequality. Tomorrow they may bring a regional inequality, cultural inequality or some other inequality. Now what the Supreme Court is going to do on that front? This is what we need to understand. See, once you accepted the equality as a principle and you have fit it as a 50, but now you are saying like there is a social dynamics are changing and some groups are demanding, some states are demanding the 50 whatever you have put is not really reflecting the social equality. They are not reflecting the social equality because few people are gaining their advantage more than their capacity. So that is the reason why you wanted to change that. Suppose if you exceed that 50% and if you give the exemption, there are many things that you can come. Can you stop all these things is the first basic question that you need to understand. How many exemptions that we can go on giving? Because it does not end with the economic inequality, because you have created social educational, you give an exemption, under that one exemption if it crosses 50 you have accepted it, that means tomorrow there might be another exemptions also. How Supreme Court is really going to do with is a really a basic thing that is you need to understand here. And one more important point is whether you need reservation thing or not. It's a very highly debatable thing, and people say like no, we have deprived for 2000 years and definitely you need to continue for some more time and until we bring the equality. Again the question is, does really this reservation concept will bring the social equality is a big question mark, because now the same Dalit group, they are saying this reservation alone is not sufficient. Along with these reservations we wanted to be a power. If we be in power, then only this equality comes. So you need to have a serious think on the method of reservation that can really bring the equality or the social equality in the society. That's a very debatable thing, I am not getting into that. But if you want to extend that reservation beyond 50% because to suits the social dynamics, you are going to encounter much more bigger problems. And how you are going to bring the all the inequalities, because you want to bring equality. Earlier you consider only social equality, educational equality, now economic equality, now you can bring regional equality or some other equality. Does really state to bring the perfect equality on all these things? Does really state have that capability to bring the equality all? And the main question is, to what extent equality is acceptable? So these are the debatable points, these are the questions. Okay, equality, to what extent equality? If someone is 1 crore, can you suggest like another should get another 1 crore? Is that the equality? Or to what extent the equality is acceptable? And if it is institutional discrimination, how can you solve? So these are the different things that we must understand. And suppose when you take the case of educational equality, why the educational inequality happen? Because some people are having some problem and they are backward and they don't have economic benefits, and the child was not groomed enough when he or she was in the womb of that mother, and their social conditions are not accepted for them to go to the school until the completion of 7 years or 8 years. So these are the problems. Then solution is what? Solution is government must care about the child from 3rd year onwards, and prior to that try to take care about mother and also give some sort of that whatever the benefits that they are providing under this maternity benefits, and 1 to 3 years try to provide some sort of economic assistance to that mother so that she will take care about the child. And once they getting into 3 years, try to send it to Anganwadi schools. Anganwadi is to be perfect, and there must be a universal education, universal curriculum, universal nutritional program. Everyone should be nurtured in that, and thereby you can reduce that inequality. Because in education, inequality starts from mother itself. If mother is socially, economically weak, that will start there itself. And if you able to solve that problem, and if you able to provide some sort of benefits to the mother until 3 years, and from 3 years onwards, if you start providing the benefits, and if government is really proactive like how the Scandinavian countries are doing, definitely you can remove this condition of educational inequality. You can remove that, because government itself is coming forward, government itself is providing from the childhood. Then why you need to provide a reservation in the education? So you can remove this, and ultimately you need to focus on social. So how can you remove the social inequality? What are the methods? What are the things that we have tested? How can we do? How can you bring these people socially equal to the other? Is it the social responsibility or government responsibility or individual responsibility? How you can solve this? The debate has to be happen. But instead of removing the exemption to the equality, we are adding much more condition to the equality by widening that concept of reservation. It is going to bring lot of complex problems. I think how Supreme Court is really going to deal this issue, because we have tried that concept for some years, and I think some people are saying like, okay, to some extent it brought equality. Some people are saying like, no, this is not perfect equality, it hasn't succeeded in that. So lot of arguments are there, but our point is, how you will get the equality if equality is our objective? Should we go on giving the exemption to the equalities, or should we remove one and another by creating a favorable environment in the country? See, if you want to go to the equality thing, you have to remove these exemptions. Why exemptions are given? Because these people are unequal. Initially, these people are unequal. That is why you have given the exemption. Then what is the duty of the government? Duty of the government to bring them equal and try to reduce these exemptions, and finally, you make everyone equal under Article 14. But what we are doing, after 70 years, we are trying to add more and more exemptions. That means state has failed here. And if you go on adding these exemptions, the question will, the issue will become more complex. That is what we need to understand. So that is what I can say on this more than 50% quota, and how actually you need. On the one hand, it is not reflecting the social dynamics, but on the other hand, it is bringing complex problems. So how the Supreme Court is going to solve is the first question that you need to understand. Next, second important aspect. This 102 Constitution Amendment, it is about the giving constitutional status to the OBCs. Now the power has go to the union government, that means parliament instead of state. Because now if at all you want to decide someone as an OBC, or if you want to categorize the OBCs, then it is not in your hands. It is completely in the parliament. Is it not against the principle of federalism? And who must be in a better position to assess the social conditions of the people or economic condition of the people? It is the state government. And moreover, when government is talking about so much of liberalism, why can't they delegate the power to the state government? Why can't they empower the state government? Oh, state government will misuse for political benefits. Is there any guarantee like union government don't use it for political purposes? So this is something need a serious look. So in the federalism, who will decide the social condition of the people? Is it the state government or is it the union government? Who can have the better idea about the people's economic participation, people's social participation? Perhaps the answer is state government. But we need to looking into the how the Supreme Court is really getting into this and how they are going to pronounce this concept of federalism. And once this list enters into, that means the list, I think I need to give the list of these three things. 341 is the list of scheduled caste, 342, Article 341 gives, Article 342 gives scheduled tribe list, Article 342A recently added, it is give the list of OBCs on state wise. Now the question is, okay, state government has an authority, Supreme Court has to decide that. Whether it is against the federalism, should state have that power or should central have that power. Now the question is, suppose if this list is with the union government, can states do classification on that OBCs like how now they are doing? Now state governments are dividing, because why they are dividing? The OBC reservations are only benefited to few people. When lot of people are there, definitely you need to classify this. This classification will help us trickle down the effect of this reservation, so that the each and every section of the society will utilize it. If you don't classify, the affluent sections are the well forward sections in the OBCs, they will get a benefit of these reservations. That is the idea, and that is why we are classifying it. Now the point is, if the list is with the union government, can a state do that classification? State can't do that classification. Again, it is against the federalism, because state has done all these years. Because why I am saying, when the list is with the union, state can't do classification, because when it comes to this classification or subcategorization, you can call it as anything. When you go for this classification or subcategorization, this subcategorization was an issue in case of scheduled caste. So what exactly the issue? The issue under Article 341 lies with the union government. Some of the state governments want to classify, and when they have classified, Supreme Court said nothing doing, this is wrong. The list is with the union has to do. Now if you do the same thing with the OBC, because now the OBC list is with the union, now even state can't classify that. Now the question is, can you classify it or not? Again, it's a big question, because Supreme Court said classification don't permits. That is what the judgments of some of the Supreme Court, and some of the Supreme Courts have said like classification is permitted. I'll come to that judgment. So now when the SC list and ST list and also OBC list lies with the union, now the main question is, can you subcategorize? This is the first question. If yes, whether union has to do or state has to do, this is another question. And is subcategorization is necessary? This is the things. So I am going to discuss some of the judgments on this front, so that you will get idea. Okay. In the N.M. Thomas case in the year 1975, actually the Supreme Court said it was given the judgment in case of scheduled caste. So scheduled caste are not caste, but they are class. You cannot divide these people. So they are one. It is not caste, they are class. You cannot divide, so there is no subcategorization. But on the other hand, the same scheduled caste people are saying like only few castes in the scheduled caste category are getting the benefit of reservation. We are not getting, you please classify. This is a dichotomy that was happened in 1975. I will give another case in the year 2004 in the E.V. Chinnaya. In the E.V. Chinnaya, 5-judge bench said state governments don't have any power to subcategorize the scheduled caste for the purpose of reservation. Again, the issue went to the parliament, but parliament has not taken any call on that. At least you need to, in principle, you need to agree whether the subcategorization is necessary or not. Supreme Court has not pronounced on that. In the 2004 E.V. Chinnaya case, and after E.V. Chinnaya case, in the 2005, the Punjab government has, Punjab and Haryana High Court has ruled on a Punjab legislation. So what is this Punjab legislation? So the Punjab legislation is empowering the state government to categorize the SCs and STs. That is what they have done. And E.V. Chinnaya case is the case against the Andhra Pradesh government categorization of SCs. So that was the E.V. Chinnaya case. But in Punjab and Haryana High Court said in the case of Punjab, because Punjab has made a legislation to classify the SCs. So again this went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said again it is the same 5-judge bench. What they said, based on the Chinnaya judgment, no, state don't have a power, so I don't want to accept this legislation, so let go to the union government. So the list is with the union, so it is only union government has to do that, whatever the necessary adjustment to that. This was the judgments that was happened in this. Now in the year 2018, there was a case called Jarnail Singh versus Lakshmi Narayan Gupta. It was in the year 2018. Again, it was a 5-judge bench. But in this 5-judge bench, they have clearly given one point. What is that? Is the objective of reservation is to ensure that all backward classes march hand in hand. That will not be possible if only a selected few gets the benefits. So if only few get all the benefits, then you cannot bring the equality. Then what you need to do that? If at all everyone want to get a benefit, then what you need to do that? Some people interpreted this judgment in such a manner, like the same Supreme Court in Jarnail Singh case argued for, if few people get the benefit, then you cannot bring the equality. So you need to eliminate the people who are already benefited, and you have to give the more reservation to the people who haven't benefited at all. That means in principle this judgment is in favor of categorization. This is what the people said. But again, some people are also interpreting in this manner, like, why can't you eliminate the cream of even scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, so that the remaining people in the same scheduled caste and scheduled tribe will also get that benefit? No, this is what some people argue. So see, categorization is important. Along with that categorization, bringing creamy layer is also important, like some people are arguing. But they are quoting Indira Sahani case. In Indira Sahani case, they said these are backward people, so you cannot decide the backwardness again, because these people are anyway backward, so you cannot deprive some of the people to really benefit of reservation. That is what some people are arguing, because in Indira Sahani they said all scheduled caste people are backward. When everyone is backward, you cannot deprive some people of reservation because of economic criteria, because already they are proven backward, so you cannot deny that thing. But anyhow, the Jarnail Singh case has proven two things. That means reservation should not be benefited by few people. Either in the name of scheduled caste grab, only few people cannot benefit. In the grab of OBC, only few people cannot do that. So it has to be reached to everyone. So for that you need categorization, and also you need some creamy layer, because if you apply the same principle, some creamy layer should also be removed. That is what the interpretation some people are drawing. But again, the creamy layer should not be criteria for scheduled caste, because scheduled caste is already backward. That was said in Indira Sahani, that some people are arguing. But there was another judgment in appeal of this Punjab cases. Actually, this is a 5-judge bench. The Supreme Court said states can subclassify this SC and STs. That means the list is with the union. Till these many days they said states can't go for the subclassification, only union do. But the Jarnail Singh judgment said, like, no, classification should be done, because the judgment is supporting the concept of classification. Now in this judgment, the Supreme Court said, like, the states can do classification for SCs and STs even though the list is with union. Now can the OBCs also same thing? The list is with the union, and can you do classification on the OBC according to this judgment? You can do that. But the question is, who will identify the OBCs? Is it the union? Again, it is against the federation. This is what the issue is. Now in this 5-bench judgment, actually what the Supreme Court has said is, state can classify SCs and STs in the central list to provide preferential treatment to the weakest of weak. They can do. And they have said one more thing, but this judgment is significant as it fully endorses the push to extend the creamy layer concept to SCs and STs. because when you say weakest of the weak, that means if you saying weakest of the weak, you can go for again classification, again you can go for creamy layer. And again one more point he said, judgment records that once a mortgage, always a mortgage cannot be passed into the service for submitting that once a backward is always a backward. You cannot say maybe Indira Sahani case they have said they are backward, but does the backward even today? How you will really decide the backwardness? So once a backward is always a backward, can you really consider that? So that is what these people are arguing. That means Supreme Court is arguing. So that means they have opened the gateways to do subclassification and also to do this creamy layer. But some people saying like you are changing the definition of the entire reservation itself. Once we have started the reservation based on the social backwardness, now the discourse has completely changed to economy. What is this? And now the another question just I want to put, okay, if your aim is to bring social equality and now they are diverting this entire thing to economic equality, but how you will bring the social equality? By go on giving the reservation, you don't want to allow it to the lower level, you don't want to subclassify. How can you really achieve the social equality? And you have continued it for 70 years. Now the people are asking the question, is this really a better method to provide the social equality? So this is an issue. So who has that power to define whether you are unequal and what type of inequalities can be accepted? To what extent equality we can bring? If you go on bringing that inequalities, how long this list will go? Social equality, educational equality, economic inequality, some people want to bring regional inequality, how long we can do? And how can we bring the equality? That is the main question. And in the entire aspect, who has that power? Whether it is a state or union. Should really union have that entire reservation categories power with them, or it must delegate to the state? And how you will understand this whole aspect in the concept of federalism? And what are the judgments of the Supreme Court? And should we really reduce that above 50% or should we confine to that 50%? And if social realities, does the social realities reflecting that 50%? If not, if you are go on adding the exemption and if you are go on increasing, how long you will allow these exemptions? Is your duty is to reduce the exemptions and to bring the equality, or you go on adding the inequalities, or you go on adding the exemptions and to make the list is so complex? And can you bring the equality by reducing this, or can you bring the equality by increasing this? So how you can bring the equality? What exactly equality means? These are the things that we need to have a detailed, elaborate discussion. And I think Supreme Court will definitely, some lawyers and some of the people will definitely bring all these aspects in front of the Supreme Court. And I consider like in this case, at least Supreme Court now at the crucial juncture, like they have to decide what exactly all this. So it should not confine to the Maharashtra's legislation or Tamil Nadu's legislation or some other legislation, but they have to clearly define what is equality, to what extent exemptions are accepted, what type of inequalities are accepted, and who has to have the power on this front. So these different questions will really important if at all you want to understand the societal aspect and also to bring equality in the society. Okay, so this is having some sort of the prelims related questions like some of the judgments of the Supreme Court and some of the articles and some of the constitutional amendments. But apart from that, it will gives you a lot of analysis on this, and these information will be helpful in your mains paper 1 in society. In paper 1 you will get 5 questions on society. In that you can use this entire information. Okay, thank you.